up here, Dan. And Jerry.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks everyone for being here. This is really special for us. We have Kurt Angle, Dan Gable, Joe Briscoe here for a special presentation that we're going to have for Kurt. This is really history right now because in the history of the sport of wrestling, only 10 men have won an NCAA wrestling championship, a world championship, an Olympic championship, and we have 2 of those guys right here, so that deserves a round of applause.
Yeah!
I'm going to let Gerald kick this off. We're just going to say a few words before we present these rings, but Jerry, if you have a few words, we'll open it up with Gerald Briscoe, class of 2005.
Thanks everybody for being here on this wonderful day, and we appreciate Kurt just had surgery and was made the flight anyway to come up here and join us, and of course Coach Gable being here. It's always an honor. It's an honor for me to be standing here with 2 Olympic champions and a jabroni, and figure it out. These are the champions. This is the jabroni, but it's great, and I'm very excited about this weekend. It's always one of my favorite weekends. You get to see friends that you make throughout the year. You get to make fun of a few friends. But don't wear your T-shirts. Briscoe Brothers Body Shop T-shirt, by the way, worth the drop. But anyway, I got to get my plugs in. But we're excited to have Kurt join us here finally. Be on the Wall of Fame there and inducted into this Hall of Fame. It kind of completes the cycle for him. He's in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame in Stillwater. He's in one in now here in Iowa. And last 2 years ago, TNA inducted him into his. So he's made a complete circle, and very proud of him. I'm always proud when a wrestler, a legit wrestler from the collegiate ranks comes and joins us and becomes such a star and such a role model as Kurt Angle. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to have the namesake of the museum, who won the gold medal in 1972, didn't surrender a single point, went on to coach the University of Iowa, 15 NCAA championships and 21 seasons. Don't think Clarion ever beat Iowa during that time either. Probably not. He's the namesake of this museum, Dan Gable.
Yeah!
They were well, Clarion was well, they were higher than Iowa. We were just on our way up. So Clarion does have a victory over Iowa before Iowa got any good. But actually, they were pretty good. But I think it was my first year actually there. My first year as an assistant coach, and Clarion had 3 national champions on that team. I think Division II actually. And they moved up and got 3 Division I champions. Clarion did, and Iowa moved. I think from. I think we were like 32nd, and all of a sudden we got 11th that year. Then we got 5th, and then we got 1st, and that was the story after that. He's kept getting 1st for a long time. But no, this museum actually, it's just, for me, it's kind of a beginning. Even though it's been around for a while, you know, it's pretty popular. I mean, I'm looking out here right now, and we have a very good room here that has a lot of people that follows this museum, and I think that's really important. But our state capital is in the state of Iowa is Des Moines, Iowa, and we have the #1 high school state wrestling tournament in Des Moines, Iowa. We've had how many team national collegiate championships? 54 team championships at the college division, university and college division. We've had 29 world and Olympic medals that were associated from the state of Iowa. And just, believe it or not, just 2 years ago, the 7 schools in the Des Moines area of the city just started wrestling at the 7th and 8th grade level. And so, like, whoa. And what's kind of funny is that sometimes we don't even realize that that's going on when there's so much going on around. But our state capitol now has a chance to kind of step up and actually be more even of a contributor to our sport within the state. But I just spent all day yesterday along with Mike Doty, I don't know if Mike's here somewhere, but in Des Moines, and we're wanting to put a gala on in Des Moines, Iowa, that is going to recognize this museum in our state capital more, just because of the fact that it's kind of like they don't know we exist very well as much as they should. And so we want to get it out. I'm meeting with some of the top people in Des Moines. And so I think if we have a gala there in October and kind of kick off the wrestling season, and we kind of show that the state of Iowa is like 2.8 million people, but we have, I think, 24 or 25 colleges within our state that offer wrestling. And there's maybe how many states that don't offer any college wrestling? You know, maybe 5 or 6 in the country that don't offer any, but yet they have it below the level. They have it at the junior high level, and they have it at elementary, and they have it at the high school level, but no place for them kids to go. So when we get our state capitol on board here a little bit more, and they realize that this isn't a Waterloo museum, and that it isn't just a Dan Gable museum, that it's more for the world, you know, I think we're going to just get that much more accomplished in this circuit. So, you know, I'm pretty honored to be here, be able to introduce this guy, honoree in 2012, Kurt Angle. You know, especially, you know, if you look at Clarion is a very good wrestling institution, and we want to get it even stronger right now. But, you know, it's unusual that people will be able to go to the level that he has gone and not being at one of the major places. Even though Pennsylvania is a great wrestling state, it's just very unusual. And so, you know, he's a 2-time NCAA champion, 3 times in the finals. He's a world champion, he's an Olympic champion, and then
First of all, Coach Gable, the reason I went to Clarion is because you didn't recruit me. You know, I started wrestling. I've had a passion for wrestling. My brothers all wrestled. I come from a family of 6. And we all wrestled. That's what we did. And the topic of the conversation every night was, you know, how Iowa was doing, Dan Gable. Our idol was Dan Gable. He always was. Dan Gable was the greatest wrestler to ever live. And you'll get arguments from other schools, other people, you know, saying, hey, how about John Smith or Bruce Baumgartner? Dan Gable was the best ever because he punished his opponents. When he won big. And that's what my brothers tried to instill in me. And even though I wasn't a very aggressive kid when I was younger, I learned that. And not only was Dan a great coach, he was a great mentor, he's a great role model. And he became one of the, if not the best coaches in the history of sport. And what I'm getting around to is that my career doesn't mirror Dan Gable's. You know, I won a couple national titles, I won a world title, Olympic gold medal, but I'm not Dan Gable. I can admit that. I'll be known as one of the all-time greats, but Dan Gable was the greatest wrestler to ever live. He always will be. And he didn't recruit me, so. But I was a family kid. I wanted to stay near home. And Clarion was an hour from my house. My family was able to watch me wrestle. That was important to me. I don't know if I would have went to Iowa. As tempting as it would have been, I had a full scholarship offer to the nemesis, Oklahoma State, and I decided not to go because family was important to me. And I had a great, great career. loved every part of it. I loved the wrestling, I loved the training, I loved the injuries. Not the injuries so much, but they go with it. And the story with Dan Gable was I went out to Iowa for a month to train with him, and that was the worst month of my life. You know, the easy days were the hardest days I've ever, been through, and he just showed me another level I needed to get to, and I'm glad I went, but did I ever go again? No. I stayed away from Dan Gable and the Iowa Hawkeyes, so this is quite an honor. Knowing that Dan Gable, this is the Dan Gable Museum, George Tragos, Thesz Hall of Fame, being a professional wrestler as well, I had a lot of fun. I had a great career in WWE, probably a better career in TNA. I've enjoyed my careers. Everything I've done, I don't regret anything. I made a lot of bad decisions. I made a lot of great decisions. But I enjoy my life and I enjoy what I do. And after the Olympics, I had to get a real job. I got a job in pro wrestling, so I didn't want to get a real job. I love competing and performing. That's what I love to do. I met Thesz about 13 years ago, right before he passed away. And he told me two things about professional wrestling. He said, one, always take the paycheck. Always take the paycheck. You gotta provide for your family. He said, always accept that. And the second thing was, he told me, don't wrestle for yourself. Wrestle for the business. Wrestle for your opponent. Make your opponent look good. Make him look better. That meant a lot to me. And when Lou passed away, and the reason I brought up Lou is because I consider him the best pro wrestler of all time. When I got into pro wrestling, I looked up to the guys that came from amateur wrestling, like the Briscoe brothers and Dr. Death Steve Williams, and when I researched further, because I knew nothing about pro wrestling, I'm sure Dan Gable doesn't know anything about pro wrestling, I didn't either, because I was always told, don't bother with it, do what you do, and go out there and win the gold. I got involved in pro wrestling, and I did some research, and I found out how good Thesz was. He was the shooter, he was the hooker, he was the guy with the wrestling moves, the wrestling holds, and the submissions. Stuff that I like to do. And I was able to add Lou's repertoire into mine. I've always wanted to do something different. I wanted good psychology. I wanted to be able to entertain the fans. And I've done it the best I could. And when he passed away, Charlie Thesz sent me a letter. And she told me about Lou's passing. And Lou did an interview about me. And I wanted to read this. The WWE interviewed Thesz about me, and I was only in the business 2 years. I didn't know what an impact I had right away until I read this, and I got better and better, which is kind of frightening. But to have Thesz write this about me was the greatest thing in the world. I mean, he was my Dan Gable in pro wrestling. So I wanted to read this, and this is Thesz talking about Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is the light at the end of the tunnel to perpetuate wrestling. He has the rare full circle ability to excel in amateur and pro wrestling. Kurt has given his labor of love to perpetuate wrestling, our mutual first love in sports. When we first met, our eye contact reaction was, my brother, finally. Kurt could, in short, revolutionize wrestling, a 700 BC miracle. This came from Thesz. I mean, here, celebrating with Dan Gable, celebrating the Dan Gable Museum, being a part of this, and a part of Thesz and George Tragos. This is great, man. This is the cap at the end of my career of wrestling. And I'm nearing the end, and it feels really good. I feel good about what I've done, and it's an awesome accomplishment to be a part of this. So I just want to thank you all for coming out. I want to thank Dan Gable. Thank you, God bless.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Kurt.
Dan, we can get you up here one last minute.
It'll never be over.
We had 2 rings that were supposed to be presented to you at the 2003 World Championships. You weren't able to go, but we have those rings from USA Wrestling. One is for winning the 1995 World Championship. The other is the 96 Olympic Championship, and we're going to have Dan present those to you. Just take a picture there. 12 years.
I didn't have to wait 12 years to get on. I'm not really, your fault? Yeah, I'm straight.
No, you're fine, man.
I think they should have probably looked you up. But here they are. And it's well-deserved, and let's make sure, they open them, but let's take a look at it. Yeah, it says Olympic champion and world champion, so yeah, that's pretty cool. All right.
I don't know if he's here. Is Greg Wojciechowski still here? Greg Wojo? Did he take off? I just wanted to get 2 NCAA champions and heavyweight here. But what we're going to do is actually have Kurt come over to the mat of honor. We're going to have you sign that while you're in here. So if we could just have you over that way.
Oh.
Good, we'd like to get Greg Wojciechowski, 2 NCAA champions at heavyweight.